Welcome to the Renovating Riches podcast. Entrepreneurs from Houston teaching you everything they know about entrepreneurship and real estate with the best guests in the real estate industry. Subscribe today on all major platforms and gear up for another episode of Renovating Riches.
Welcome to a Renovating Riches Radio podcast today with a special guest that drove from Austin, Texas, man. Thank you so much for coming, Nick. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. So, who is Nick, man? Where do you come from? Social security number, that kind of deal, you know.
Yeah, man. I grew up in Northern Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C.
Okay.
So I came from very middle-class family. Parents divorced at a really young age. My biological dad never had really any money. My stepfather was in the CIA, so grew up in a CIA household. When I was 14, wasn't doing too good in the strict CIA environment, so my mom booted me out to go live with my dad. And my dad, he was a landscaper, right? So he had was just trying to make ends meet. We were living in the hood, didn't have any money. I was sleeping on the couch. Had to figure out there's no food in the fridge. I need to eat. I need some money. I need some lunch money. So I started learning the value of work ethic at a pretty young age. As soon as I could get a job at 14, I got a job, and I think I was bagging groceries, and I kind of came up from there.
Man, that's what you were doing so well, because you were put in a situation at an early age of literally your back is against the wall, and you weren't waiting for your father to provide for you. You're like, how can I help actually the situation around the house?
Right.
By getting a job and making something happen. So that's pretty admirable. I started working young as well. I was a little younger than you were, but it's because I really wanted to be like my dad. I would see my dad dressed up with a suit and all that, and I was like, Dad, I want to go get a suit and go to work with you. And I think I started when I was 8. And it wasn't a formal job, right? It was like me helping out around the office or whatnot. But what you did is pretty, outstanding. Like most kids that age, they don't even think about getting a job. They're thinking about playing sports or dating or doing drugs or whatever the case might be, right?
100%. I mean, when you go in, when you don't have any lunch money, and you're not going to get any lunch money, and you're not going to eat. You got to figure out real quick. Okay, well, this is sustainable. And then you start seeing other kids in school have nicer clothes than you, nicer shoes, things like that. You get resourceful, and that's what I did. I just started working at a young age.
So you started working basically on landscaping with your father, right?
No, I started working at Dollar Tree.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a clerk at the Dollar Tree.
All right.
14 years old. I was running the Dollar Tree at 15. I was a store manager there, and did that for a while. And then I got a job in a call center, actually, when I was 16. So I got my first little dose of sales experience.
Okay.
I'd work after school and then on the weekends, every Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday after school. I did that till I was about 17. Then I was a manager at a cell phone store. I went in as associate. They promoted me to manager. So I've always had a strong ability to sell, which has served me well. I think that just comes from having that hustler's mentality, back up against the wall. Hey, we got to do what we got to do to make ends meet.
Okay, and so what city is this?
This was in Leesburg, Virginia. It was right outside of Washington, D.C.
So a small suburb, or
small suburb. Yep. Not a lot going on there. I got involved with the wrong crew at an early age, right? I didn't have much support in terms of family structure and things in high school. So started hanging out with the wrong people, doing a lot of bad things, selling drugs, trying to figure out who I was and how I was going to come up, and got mixed up with the wrong crew. Was getting myself in a lot of trouble in high school. Got kicked out of school, put in jail, the whole nine. Had to learn everything the hard way.
Good deal, man. And so when you got kicked out of high school, were you able to finish high school out of high school, or Did you ever get a GED or?
I was very fortunate. I found like an alternative high school that allowed you to do all your classes on the computer.
Okay.
And so I would have to go to this private high school and sit in a cubicle, and that's where I did my entire half my junior year and full senior year. But because they let you do it at your own pace, and I was motivated to just work and not sit in school, I blitzed through my entire junior and senior year, and
man, I gotta get this shit done
in 8 weeks, 2 months, got the whole school year done. So
wow.
Once I did that, I was able to work full time. And then they let me walk the stage at my high school graduation. So I still got the diploma and everything, but they said, hey, we don't want you coming here every day.
Wow. Yeah, they'd rather keep you away from it.
Yeah, you're not coming back. So,
that's good, man.
Yeah.
So it wasn't good back then, but it's good now, right? Because it made you the person you are today. It's part of that growing up and going through a lot of adversity and also being exposed to the wrong crowds, right? I grew up not as similar as you did, because I grew up in Venezuela, and our thing was drinking. We were just out. I started drinking when I was 12.
Right.
So I was an alcoholic by the time I was 15, and literally we will drink every freaking day. I don't know what we were celebrating, to be honest with you, but it was just the thing to do.
Oh, we were the same way. I mean, we'd scrounge up all our money, go get a 30 cube of beer at the grocery store with a fake ID, skip school. We'd be drunk at 11 o'clock in the morning, and it was crazy reckless. We'd always end up getting into some trouble. One of us end up in the hospital or jail. It was not a productive environment.
But I guess you consider it fun, right? So you were just having fun. Now it's just a way of looking at things. So you graduated high school, got your diploma. And then what do what was your trajectory after that?
Yeah, well, I didn't have the grades to really get into college or anything like that. That was out of the cards for me. So, I started getting my act together when I was going through that period of my senior year, because I didn't have anybody watching over me. I was tired of getting in trouble. So I really started looking at hey, what do I want to do with my life? I played sports in high school before they kicked me out of there. And when they kicked me out and I wasn't able to play sports, I started going to the gym every day. That became, something that started getting me back on the right track.
Okay.
Right. And so that became very important in my life, 16 to 18 years old. And I decided what, this is something I'm passionate about. It's a healthy outlet for myself. So I went to school to go be a personal trainer. So I went to a 6-month-long personal training college, came out of that, and got a job personal training. And I did that for 5 years.
Plus, you got to see a lot of beautiful women at the gym, and that kind of deal, right? So your networking was a little different, right?
100%. So I got to work at some really nice facilities. I did in-home personal training, and then eventually sports and conditioning camps. So
okay.
Yep.
So you were really a professional when it comes to the fitness industry, or were a professional back then.
Yeah.
Right now you just exercise, but you're not running a gym anymore or anything like that.
No, right now it's mental. Back then I was competitive. I did competitive men's physique. I was nationally qualified with the NPC and things like that.
Okay.
So that was life. My life revolved around.
How long did you do that for?
I did that from 18 to 23.
Okay.
I kind of hit a wall in there where I was making, okay money. I was making $60,000 a year,
right,
which is capping out for as a full-time personal trainer. And I was working a ridiculous amount of hours, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning for 5:30 clients, and then doing personal training until 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, eat lunch, get back for 4 o'clock clients, and then you'd be done personal training at 11 o'clock at night, 10, wow. 11 o'clock at night.
You're sleeping 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, and weekends too. It never stopped. So I was there's got to be a better way to make money, and I knew that commission was the way to go. Right? You're not gonna be trading dollars for hours. So one of my clients, he was actually he owned a bunch of franchises and things like that, and he had just started a frozen yogurt franchise, the make your own cup of frozen yogurt. He's like, hey, this franchise is growing pretty fast. I could probably introduce you to the president and get you in to help them out. They're looking for, people to sell the franchises, help open the stores. And so had an introductory call, landed that job. and that was the start of like kind of the next chapter of my life.
Well, what year is this?
This is like 2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you went and started selling franchises and setting them up, pretty much.
Yeah. So if you're going to open a frozen yogurt store here in Houston, I'd sell it to you and then take you through the whole step of the way, all the way till you get your store open. And then I'd come to Houston, help you train your employees, get your store up and running, and make sure that you were up and profitable.
That's good. So that show you a lot about systems and processes, pretty much, because that's what a franchise is all about.
That was my first exposure to like real entrepreneurship, right? Because the franchisees that I'm working with, these guys are battle tested entrepreneurs that own 50 Popeyes, 100 Domino's, things like that. So by spending time with those people, that's what really started to develop like an entrepreneurial muscle in me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I actually know a guy that owns 100 plus Wendy's, and he's got that's just one of the things that he does. He's got a bunch of other ones.
Yeah. So when I started getting around those guys, that's when I realized like, hey, this is where the real opportunity lies. You got to own your own business, and work on building yourself up as an entrepreneur. So that's really where like the entrepreneurial bug hit me hard.
So the bug hits you because now you're seeing this ultra successful people that own all these franchises that they're literally printing money.
Right.
They're making a ton of money every month, and it's kind of like residual because once it's there, it's until you get rid of it or you die or you run it down for whatever reason. But the lifespan of those is pretty lengthy if you're managing them well. Why do you start like studying yourself? Like, did you pick up a book or did you start listening to, I don't know, certain tapes? How was that? Because one thing is being exposed to it, but the next thing is to grow yourself as an entrepreneur. Well, how was that step?
Yeah, I think it started earlier than that, kind of take you back to when I was getting in a lot of trouble and I knew I had to stop getting drinking and getting myself in trouble in the high school years. Yeah, quit smoking pot, quit drinking, started getting myself into the gym. And then, I didn't know anything about personal development. This was kind of like before YouTube and stuff that. So I was going to the library and getting CDs of like, Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins and things like that. Yeah. And I would listen to those on my freaking CD player.
How do you find out about them is the question. Because, I'm a little older than you are, but I'm not much of our age gap is not that huge. I was exposed to it because of my father. So my father was in sales, and he will pop in Tony Robbins. He will pop in Zig Ziglar. And I was like, Dad, that's boring. Put some Guns N' Roses or something, right?
Right.
But he's like, no, son, like this is like fuel for my brains. I'm a sales guy, so, I got to be there. So that's how I knew about it. But I don't think if I would have been exposed to my dad, I would have never found out about these people. So how do you come across like knowing, hey, this is Tony Robbins or this is, Jim Rohn? Like, was there somebody that said, hey, man, these are good people to look up to? Or
no, like when I was young, like I always knew like, hey, I'm destined for great things in my life and I want to do great in my life. And when I was lost in that mess of like adolescence,
you just didn't know if you were gonna be a huge drug dealer or a huge entrepreneur.
Exactly.
You're gonna make it big regardless.
Right. But in my own desperation to kind of get myself out of the confusion of adolescence and the freaking mess of the legal system, I was going to the gym every day trying to figure out how to make myself better. And so I think I went to the library one day and stumbled into the personal development section.
Okay.
And then, I saw some interesting titles and I was like, hey, I'm going to pick this up. And that kind of started the self-growth process because I didn't have anybody to lead me, right? Like my mom my family didn't live in the same town as me. My dad, he was great. I love him. He's always been there for me. But at that time, he's working nonstop,
he's just trying to make a buck to survive.
Make a buck to survive. So he wasn't there as much as I wish he was. And so I had to take the initiative upon myself to go out and find.
Good for you.
Find better.
I think that's what happens to a lot of people, that they have the desire, they can have the drive, but they don't have the guidance. And if they don't have somebody to point them, and that's why I ask you, how do you find out about it? Because if somebody said, oh, Ricardo came and gave me a book or introduced me to this new section, and that changed my life. In your case, you actually did it on your own, which is pretty admirable.
Yeah, and I mean, this was before the internet too.
Yeah.
Now all you got to do, if you want anything, get on your phone.
That's
get
it.
on your laptop, and you can find endless amount of information.
It's within 2 seconds you'll have more information that you can digest.
Correct.
In the next 10 minutes. In your case, you had to dig for the library and then sort of find yourself on the self-development, area, and then said, maybe this title here piques my interest. I'll pick this book up and read it. What was the first book you remember reading?
I know I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad at a very early age. I listened to that audiobook on my portable compact disc player.
Right.
I read that one. The Richest Man in Babylon.
Great book.
Yeah, that was at the library. I think Tony Robbins' Awaken the Power Within.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a very early one. And I mean, there were so many more.
Yeah.
I kind of got on that, and that's what helped, fuel that growth mindset that led me into better things, and I still continue that to this day. I never stop learning. I'm constantly on a quest.
Growing and reading and learning, it's like taking a shower. You got to do it on a daily basis.
Right.
If you quit doing it, then you stop. You're gonna get stalled at some point.
It's just good mental hygiene.
It's great mental hygiene, and is exercising is another one. You gotta do it all the time. So, anyways, you start picking up these books at the library, and now you're selling franchises, right? Or actually, you started picking this up earlier.
Yep, and then I was a personal trainer. Then I was able to connect with people from a lot of the personal development that I did, and then landed a job with a franchise.
Did you attend any seminars?
No, I didn't have any enough money or time to go attend any seminars.
Right.
Yeah.
I actually attended. So I read a book called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker.
Yeah, great book.
And one day I get an email from I don't know. Somehow I ended up on their email distribution list. T. Harv Eker will be in Houston teaching the Millionaire Mind principles, and I was like, that dude is my idol, man. I gotta go see him. And then I go to the seminar, and he's not there.
Right.
It's a bunch of other people pitching a bunch of other stuff, but it was actually a great seminar. I made a bunch of friends that worked at that company at the time. Was called New Peaks, I believe it was. Now it's called Success Resources, and this podcast actually was born out of that seminar. I took like a series of classes afterwards, and one of the guys was pitching on how he can teach people to do a podcast and like why should everybody have a podcast. When I bought his program, I didn't buy it for me. I bought it for my mother, who actually had a lot of followers, and I was like, Mom, you should give your message to your followers and on all this. And my sister and my mom did the class, but they didn't do anything with it for like a year. When I got into the real estate space and we started wanting to convey a message, I actually reached out to my sister and I was like, hey, do you guys still have the login and the password for that podcast thing that I bought like 2 years ago? And she's like, yeah. So I went and read it, and boom, here we are. So it's kind of crazy how the universe takes you through a whole different path. And that was on my case how I ended up with a podcast. It was because I was exposed to a seminar on personal development.
Yep.
So all right, so you went to the franchise thing. What happened?
So, I don't know if any of you guys remember like the self-serve frozen yogurt craze where you go in and you put the toppings on and you weigh it on the scale. Like that was hot back in like 2011 to 2014.
That was still hot for me like a couple of years ago when I was eating, sugar every freaking day.
Yeah, in those 3 years, I mean, everybody was mortgaging their house to open up a yogurt franchise, right? And then the fad died right around 2014, and so I was starting to see a lot of gaps in my store openings and sales and things like that, and I knew that the franchisor was going to be making a pivot into actually another industry. They're going to go do like a pizza concept or something like that,
right? And
so I was like, well, you know what, I'm kind of coming up on the end of my lease here, with this roommate situation. I just broke up with like a 2-year-long girlfriend, and so I'm starting to think like, all right, well, what's my next move?
Where was
right?
this at?
This is in Northern Virginia.
Still in Virginia, okay.
Yeah. So I'm like, what's my next move going to be? I'm like, I desperately wanted out of Northern Virginia because it's a very, federal government, sterile place to live. Traffic's bad, weather's bad, people are bad. So
right.
I went and I had like $5,000 saved up.
Yeah, the morale. I guess the environment creates a low morale for people that live in. It's like Seattle, man. I mean, Seattle is a beautiful city, but if you spend enough time in Seattle, it becomes depressing because it's gray all the time. It's raining all the time. When it snows, it's nasty. And actually, per capita, Seattle is the city with most suicide rate attempts in the United States.
Right.
So I cannot actually understand what you're saying. You're like, man, I'm tired of this place. I gotta move out of here. People are rude. I hate the snow. I don't know.
Yeah,
all the above. Up in it, right?
All the above. And so I knew that this is an opportunity for me to leave. If I have $5,000 in my name, I'm like, man, this is gonna be a gutsy move to transition to another city. And fortunately, through opening the frozen yogurt shops, I got to see most of the major U.S. cities. And so out of all of them, I was thinking, like, where should I move? Maybe San Diego, maybe somewhere in Florida. What about Texas? I actually looked at Houston and then Austin. I mean, I thought about this pretty
hard.
Pretty hard, yeah. I had a spreadsheet, the whole nine. Anyways, I chose Austin, Texas. Good food, good weather, good economy, good-looking women.
Yeah.
The whole nine. So put everything in the back of my beat-up Mazda 3 and called an apartment locator and said, get me as close to downtown as you can for $1,000 a month.
Right.
Didn't have any furniture or anything. Drove down to Austin, and about this time, like 6.5 years ago, 6 years ago, I moved March 1st of 2014 down to Austin. So, drove down to an empty apartment.
Got you an air mattress?
I slept on an air mattress with no furniture, just my clothes. No job, no friends, and had to figure out what am I going to do with the rest of my life.
You know what? It's kind of funny because when I got in the oil field back in 2005, I was making decent money, but I rented an apartment, and I was never there. I was always working offshore, and I had the money to buy furniture and whatever, but I chose not to do it. So I had a one-bedroom apartment. It was probably 700 or 800 square feet, big living room, had a nice kitchen, and all I had was a bed. Now, I did have an air mattress at the beginning, so I upgraded to a bed that I went and hustled at the mattress store. I guess somebody returned a king-size bed or whatnot, and they gave me a deal for like $200. I was like, come on, I took it. And my friends will go in the apartment and say, dude, where's your furniture? Like, where's the TV? And I was like, I don't need any of that stuff, man. When I bring the girls, man, they come here, they look at it. The only place they can sit down is right there on my bed. And so why would I want to put furniture here? It makes it harder for me to take him there.
Right.
So
right.
that was the strategy.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Later on, I put furniture and all that. But it kind of like took me back to your place. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
If he was bringing ladies to the freaking apartment, guess what? They're just going on the mattress. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, they'd be super sketched out right at the beginning. What the hell is this guy's?
What's going on here? But
Yeah.
at that point, they know,
Right.
So,
yeah.
anyways, all right. So you moved to Austin, man. And by the way, $5,000 might not seem like a lot of money today, but if you pace yourself right, $5,000 can take you pretty long ways. If you're like maybe not getting an apartment, but you get your roommate with somebody else for, I don't know, $400 a month or $500 or whatever.
Right.
And if your car is paid for, then that's really your only expense plus gas and food.
Yeah.
So it can take you 4 or 5 months. That's pretty much what I had to my name back in 2004, and I survived on that for a little while I was transitioning into the oil and gas business. So anybody out there watching this thing that, you don't need large savings to start making
moves.
a move.
Yeah.
What you got to do is move and head on the right direction. You were removing yourself from an environment that took you up to a certain level, but you understood that for you to go higher than that level, you had to go somewhere else.
100%.
And actually, Grant Cardone talks a lot about that. and how he's moved from different areas from California to Florida to grow his network, and even though this guy was ultra successful already, you know, moving always creates new opportunities, new networks, new friends, new people that you meet. And so I admire you for that, because not everybody's got the guts to say, man, I'm gonna get out of, especially you were in your 20s already, right? So
Yeah, I was 23 or 24.
yeah, so that's all you knew. Like, your family's there, whether you like them or not or whatever, that's a different story. Your friends are there, you know the neighborhoods. Like, it would have been a lot easier now to start maybe a real estate business, which is not what you did anyways, but in that town, because it's what you knew. So making that move is a risk, but you were 23 also, young. You have $5,000. I think you were stacking the odds towards your advantage.
Yeah, I was betting on myself, right?
You were betting on yourself.
Yeah.
So what? How was getting to Austin like? Like, what was the what do you end up doing there?
So yeah, I mean, this is kind of where like the real estate journey begins. Is I got here, I had nothing to my name, didn't have a job, didn't know a soul in the town, right? So I knew I needed to start making money as soon as possible, and I was like, well, the fastest thing to do is get a job, right? So
Right.
I'm applying for every job out there. I'm talking to recruiters, and everybody's slamming the door in my face.
Right.
No, we don't want you to work there. We don't want you to work there. And I was like, man, I got to figure out some other way to like make money, right? And so, what do? Go right back to YouTube. That's where I learned. Everything I've probably learned since high school has been from other individuals or like YouTube.
Yeah.
So, started, researching wholesaling. Stumbled across like Sean Terry.
So you didn't have a job, and you started researching for wholesaling.
Yeah, I mean that was the only way that because I'm applying for jobs nonstop, and that's like my number one focus. It's not like I'm going out partying or anything like that. So it's like I'm applying for jobs, trying to get interviews as much as I can during the day, and then at night educating myself. I knew that I want to be my own boss. Like
Right.
I don't want to work for some other man the rest of my life. I can't do it.
Right.
So, wholesaling made sense to me. I was like, if I'm gonna make it as an entrepreneur, like it's probably gonna be in like real estate, technology, or maybe oil. But I was like, real estate makes sense to me out of everything. So, dove deep on that. And while I was looking for a job, I was doing like odd jobs on Craigslist and things like that.
Just create a little bit of money.
Create a little bit of money. And I was doing a lot of that, and so I was able to start like sending out mailers and things, and I was handwriting the mailers, handwriting bandit signs, spending money I didn't have to, chase, the dream of doing wholesaling.
Yeah, because that's what they were teaching back then. Mail, send postcards, yellow letters, and your phone will ring, and next thing you go, you lock up a deal and you sell it in 3 weeks and you make $10K.
Right.
That was it.
Right.
So you got through. So you started watching YouTube. Who were you watching? You mentioned Sean Terry, who to me I used to listen to that guy every day to his podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually great. But he was teaching a lot of that, like mailers and more of the reactive marketing, which is what I call it. You put stuff out and then you wait for your phone to ring.
Mm-hmm.
And then nowadays we are in the proactive marketing. We still do some reactive, but who else were you learning from at the time when it came to like real estate?
I mean, he was my main mentor. I know there's like
One guy back.
Yeah, I didn't really diversify from that. I went deep on Sean Terry's methods. I experimented around with like a lot of other people's YouTube channels, but he resonated the most with me. So,
he's very charismatic, man. And the way he speaks, his energy is good. He connects with people. That's why I like Sean so much.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the few that I follow on Instagram or YouTube, and when his stuff comes up, I watch it. And it's just because I like to watch the guy deliver the message. It might be something I already know, but he's actually a very likable person. So,
absolutely. So, I did that, and then I made a lot of mistakes in terms of spending all the money I had to market and not getting a return, right?
Right.
Yeah, I spent all the money I had. I was flat broke almost got evicted from my apartment because I was spending all my money on, mail and bandit signs.
Right.
And I didn't have any money coming in. So, I thank, by the grace of God, I was able to land a job through a referral. A friend referred me. I had made some friends and things like that at this point. It's a couple months in, to Austin. Made a relationship with this guy, referred me to a job at Indeed.com, and everybody else had slammed the door in my face, and they gave me a shot. I went through their interviews and started doing inside sales with them.
Okay.
So, I was so thankful that I was going to be able to make rent that month, and I got the job there. And my number one goal getting that job in inside sales was I want to make as much money as I possibly can so I can get out of here and be my own boss.
Right.
From day one. That was number one.
But you didn't say that on the interview.
No. But having that mentality served me really well because right out of the gate, I was a top performer in the organization. And so I went from making zero money to making $250,000 pretty much.
That's a pretty good chunk of change.
Overnight. So that was a really big turnaround right there for me to be able to make that kind of income for myself, because what it allowed me to do was, not only make, $250,000 in my 9 to 5, but then in the evenings I had a 6 to 2, which was real estate. Yep. So I'd come home 6 o'clock and I worked till like 2 o'clock in the morning every single morning. Doing real estate, whatever it needs to be, calling back sellers, putting out more marketing, going on evening appointments, and then, of course, the weekends. That's all I did.
That's pretty good. And, well, you were doing what most people weren't willing to do at the time, because a lot of people, their dream is, I'm going to get to 100K, not even 250K. I'm going to get to 100K, and I'm set. I got me a big house now, and I got to get me a nice car. 100K nowadays doesn't take you much further out.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are not there. Like, they're in the 60s, 70s, 80K range. So you start making good money. $250,000 is the 1%ers are the ones making that, employed, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of you going out to the bar or the club or whatnot, you continue to go back to, I'm gonna go learn, grow, and figure out this real estate business because I know what it can do for me. Pretty much that was your approach.
Yep. So all the commissions that I was making, I was reinvesting back into masterminds. Like, as soon as I had the money, because I was learning all that Sean Terry. As soon as I had the money, I went to Sean Terry's mastermind. Went headfirst into his boardroom and things like that. That really started getting me some traction in the real estate business.
You start hanging out with guys that are at a much higher level than you are.
Yep.
And now you're basically an action taker from a very young age. So you just had to figure out what you needed to do, and by you surrounding yourself with these people, that was instant. Because these are movers and shakers that are already making it happen.
Yeah. So it was a slow journey for me to get started in real estate. It took me 11 months to get my first deal, and it wasn't like on part-time effort either. Like, I'm busting my ass, spending all the money I have, like doing everything I can.
Yeah, you're on the red. You're running red because you're not getting any money back, and your return is not there.
Zero, right. So and I had to look at myself like in the mirror, after spending all this time and energy. 6 months later and not have anything to show for it, right? Like, really take a mental evaluation. Like, I think that was the only time I ever thought about quitting. And when I thought about quitting that day, I was like, I've come too far at this point. I've been too much in. I was like, just let it kill me. I was like, you know what? It's going to have to put me 6 feet under because I'm not quitting.
That's good, man. So what really kept you going? Was it the fear of the failure, or?
Dude, I'm just a son of a bitch, man. Like, you're gonna have to kill me. Like, that was really it. I was just like, I'm not gonna. I crossed the line of like failure being an option.
Right.
You know what I mean? I put too much time, energy into it, to where like, if I'm gonna fail, like, it's gonna be because I'm dead. There's no other option. I'm just gonna keep banging and keep banging.
And at that point, you didn't really fail.
No.
You just
no,
died,
I was just frustrated at that point. But
yeah,
I
you
was
get
like,
frustrated, right?
The thought of quitting after I put that much into it made me sick. Like, honestly, I was like, it's not an option.
Yeah, but I can see why you won. You're just gonna figure it out.
Right. You're just gonna keep punching, right? You know, until I can't keep punching anymore. You know, until you know I'm dead or whatever. But fortunately, you know, I'm a survivor, so I was able to continue to put one foot in front of the other, keep showing up to work every day. You know, I got my first deal 11 months later. On a follow-up, I was actually at lunch from my day job, and a seller I went on an appointment 6 months ago called me back and said, "Hey, I'm ready to move forward. Can you send me the contract?" And I was like, "Oh my goodness!" So I did that, and then was able to turn around and flip the deal to an investor, and made $12,000 on it. Took that $12,000.
And now you got proof of concept.
And that was all I needed, right?
That's it.
Because I was already supporting myself with my day job. I took that $12,000 and reinvested it all back into marketing, like every penny of it. And then I got deal like 2, 3, 4 back to back on the $12,000 of marketing.
But you still had a job.
And I still had a job. And so then now I'm starting to catch a little bit of traction. Then this is probably a year into me having a job at Indeed, and I've got money. You know, I'm starting to have people help me out, things like that. You know, I'm getting consistent deals. You know, 2 to 4 deals a month at this time, right?
Which is pretty good.
Yeah, for having a full-time job.
Yeah.
And then just kept going.
Nothing wrong with having a 5-figure side job, you know.
Yeah.
You could actually make it a 6-figure depending on how big your assignments were.
Yeah, I was making 6 figures doing that, and I was doing well in my day job. So I was living decent for the time. I'm blessed. Yeah, I got much better things going on now, but for back then it was good. I was able to support myself, and I provided a nice life for myself, and it's kind of been history ever since.
Good deal. So how big did you grow your team while you were still employed?
So how
did that look like?
Yeah, so I had a really good VA. I think it was through Riva or Ivis. I think they're called Ivis. One of those
services,
then. Yeah, and I trained her. I'd spend my nights and weekends working with this chick. So she could basically run point while I'm at my day job, and I had her trained up really well. And so she was the main point of contact for my business. Any lead that came in, she would reach out. She was kind of doing acquisitions, but I was still running appointments at this time, so I could still go out and see houses. But she'd get them really qualified for me, so I wasn't wasting a lot of time going to these houses.
Okay.
So.
Basically, you went to a house to get a piece of paper signed.
Exactly. And then I had my girlfriend at the time working for me. She was in software sales, but then she quit because we were making so much money in real estate that she came and quit and did real estate with me. And then I also had a partner at the time. I don't anymore, so I got rid of the girl, got rid of the partner, got common lawed, lost a partnership, had to go to court, lost everything. At that point, when that happened, then I decided I didn't want to have the girlfriend anymore.
Right.
I went and broke up with her, and she was smart. She had families that were attorneys and things. They hit me with common law, and so lost everything I had in the common law. Lost all my material possessions. I was living in a high rise in Austin, had nice vehicles, nice clothes, brand new furniture, everything. Lost it all. When I was going through that, my partner, he turned his back on me and said, "Hey, I don't want to be involved with you anymore because you're going through all this. It's just, it's not a good look." So he turned his back on me, and he had told me I'd never make it, things like that. I was basically hit rock bottom, but just kept swinging, and then
you hit rock bottom relationship wise.
Yeah, but mentally, I didn't hit rock bottom. I'm still going.
You were there.
The world's falling around me.
Actually, they
I didn't give a shit.
Did you a favor.
Yes, they did. It was the biggest blessing I ever had.
Absolutely.
Getting them out of there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was like, good, get it away.
But, I don't believe in luck. I believe that you create your own luck.
Yeah.
I don't believe in coincidences or conspiracies or whatever. Actually, I do believe in conspiracies, and the universe was conspiring on your favor.
Yes.
Because it was taking you through all that shit that it might have been ugly as hell at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Removing the girlfriend. Hey, she took some stuff with her. All right. Material possessions, which, okay, whatever.
I got them back, yeah. Tenfold,
right?
Yeah.
And then your business partner.
Mm-hmm.
decided that I guess it was not a good relationship for him because of what you were going through. Oh, you're not good anymore. You know, I don't need you or whatever. Blah blah blah. He went and did whatever he was doing and left you alone. And
Yeah.
you know, now you're stronger than ever because you don't have to carry their weight now. That's the way I see it.
It was baggage, right?
Yeah.
So I had to go through the cleansing of that baggage, which, you know, I had all this money. I had over 6 figures in the bank,
Right.
then wiped it all out. I think I had like 11 grand left to my name after I got myself like a new apartment and a new car and things
Right.
like that. And then I just kept banging, man.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
I love that because and now they probably say, man, I messed up, you know, especially your partner. If he would have stayed with you and help you go through it, he will be probably better off. I don't know whether he's doing well or not, but you know, that's besides the point now.
Right.
So okay, and how do you start rebuilding from that? Like, what was your like? Okay, I don't have the girlfriend that took my money. I don't have the partner that took the company or whatever.
Yeah.
They're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're not broke because to me, being broke is a mindset. It's something in your mind. You just didn't have enough money at the time to live the life you were
Right.
you were living, right?
Yeah.
But you still had 11 grand, which is more than the $5,000 you came to Austin with, anyways.
True.
And now you got all the know-how
Yeah.
on how to do this thing. You have a network.
So I wasn't shook, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, fine. Thank God. It was kind of like light at the end of the tunnel. When you said it was a blessing, it absolutely was. Like, it sucked going through it, but I never got down on myself for a second. I was like, man, I just can't wait till this shit's over with, so that way I can go and build this up even bigger.
Look, true story, man. And I hate to cut you off, but I have a business partner. His name is Dennis, who I love. He's my brother. And one day, me and him are talking, like, we were going through some shit, like, serious, like, I mean, defeat, and we're getting just slapped on the face by, I don't know, many different situations. And we're trying to figure it out, what do we do next? Like, how do we get out of this funk? Like, it stinks right now, and we need to figure something out. He's an engineer. And I was like, Dennis, man, worst case scenario, dude, you go back to your 6-figure job, man. And he looked at me and said, I will fucking never do that again.
Yeah.
I said, okay, that's all I wanted to hear, bro. Because me, I'm never going back to that either.
No.
But I just want to make sure
Right.
you weren't going back to that. Okay, let's continue to roll. And that was it.
Yeah.
So it was that quick conversation, you know, and we never doubted each other, right? So he's always been there for me, just like I have been there for him, which is something you look on a partner. Like, you're going through some tough times. Last thing you expect is for your partner to turn his back on you and
Right.
and kind of like call you out on some who
Right.
knows what, right?
Right.
In this case, like, no, man, I got your back, you got mine, let's go. So
Yep.
so anyways, you go through that. You're freaking strong mindset now. I mean, you've been preparing yourself for years now, exercising, which also gives you discipline and it makes you relentless, you know. And now you put the mindset, you go through the adversities. How do you rebuild from there? And what was your, like, how did that look like?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head. So I was like, well, I got my company, I got a job, and I got all this knowledge now. I was like, I'm fine, right? So I never got down on myself through that entire experience. And, you know, I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. I didn't really stop, right? So I just, you know, continued marketing. I still had my girl, you know, calling the leads, and I'm back down to a one-man show. So
Where was she at?
My
Your VA?
my VA, yeah, my VA over in the Philippines.
Okay.
Yep, she was doing that for me, doing a really good job, and you know, I was actually better off for it when I was by myself. I don't know, you know, I was more focused, I was more driven, and so that's really kind of when my business started to take off. You know, I had, you know, enough money within, like, you know, 6 months later that
Right.
I had more in my account than I did even
Before. Right.
And so at that point, I think this is like early 2017, I was like, you know what, it's time to jump out and start doing this full time on my own. So
Yeah, because you realized that your job was actually robbing you from opportunities.
yeah, I was like, I'm spending 160 hours a month here, right? So if I took 160 hours additional and put it into my real estate business a month, how much more money? I was like,
And even
done.
if it takes you another 3 years to get to where you were financially with the job, that's just a supposing.
Mm-hmm.
It's still worth it because at the end of the day, you own your time, you own your business. You know, you call the shots now. You jump when you want to jump, not when they tell you to jump. And now you're in control 100%. So even if it takes longer to get there, it's completely worth it. So all right. So you quit, and when you quit, did they try to keep you and say, man, where are you going? Are you crazy, or how did that work out?
I mean, my director, he was really cool. He was a big, mentor. Indeed's really where I learned like hardcore inside sales.
Okay.
Right. It's like Wolf of Wall Street there.
Right.
High quotas, everything. So, my director knew how to put the carrot out in front of me. He knew that I wanted to be my own boss. So he's like, hey man, all right, we can get you, here in terms of where my quota was. He's like, yeah, if you can exceed it by this much, you'll get this much. You could probably, exit next quarter. I had a really good relationship with him.
He actually helped you get set up for that move.
Correct.
Wow.
Yep.
That's admirable, especially somebody in corporate.
Yeah, and a super good guy. I'm be eternally thankful for him. Yeah, he served a really big part of my big piece of my life. So he was in my corner, and I just was transparent with him. I'm like, all right, as soon as we get through this quarter, I'm probably gonna bounce. And he was like, all right, cool, thanks for letting me know. So all my colleagues and everything, they didn't know. It was kind of between me and my director.
Right.
He knew what was going on, and he was supportive the entire way. All my colleagues, they were like, oh man, they couldn't believe I was doing it. They're kind of, a lot of them
they're calling you stupid, crazy,
I think a lot of them bet on me to, fail, things like that. But,
right.
I got out. It was the most liberating feeling in the world walking out of those doors, on a Monday morning after I had turned in my laptop and walking out and knowing I don't have anybody reigning over me.
You're free.
Yeah. And I got to work immediately. I went home and started getting things in order because I knew, hey, I'm 100% responsible now for my own income. So
right.
There was there's not like a big celebration. It was get your ass back to work.
That's
and
it.
Start making money.
Now this is real.
Right.
Now this is real, and so on my case, for me it was hard. I had a family, kids, actually a kid on the way. I had a daughter going to college, and big house and cars, and paying for my mom's car, that kind of deal, right? So I was the guy providing for a lot of people around me, and I was miserable in my job for at least a year, at least. Now, I didn't leave because I was making a ton of money, and I had the liberty of going in and out whenever I wanted. So I didn't have to clock in or out. Literally, if I didn't show up, they didn't even know whether I showed up in the building or not, because I was so high up in the company that people were reporting to me, and I was reporting to a guy in the UK. So, my boss is not there to like, hey man, where you at this morning or whatever. I'm the boss. So when they laid me off, I remember I was grateful to them right away. Thank you so much for this, the years that I spent here. I really learned a lot. They actually were the ones that made me think big because I was handling large numbers. So when you're handling hundreds of millions of dollars, your financial, mind expands, and you're like, man, this is possible, like to handle $100 million, $200 million, accounts and that kind of deal. So that's what made me started thinking big, because I guess up to that point, I was very thinking small when it came to like revenue and maybe the kind of deals that I could do on my own. I've been investing in real estate since 2008, but I always had a job as well. I was on the flipping side. I never like wholesaling. Wholesalers are bad. They're ugly. They wear, flip flops, and they don't know their numbers, and they're making all the money on the front end, and I'm not making enough on the back end. That was kind of like my scarcity mentality as an investor towards wholesaling. Little did I know I was gonna become one. But the day they laid me off, man, I got on that car, and I remember I'm processing what just happened, right? And then I get on the highway, and as soon as I hit I'm start going, I don't know, 80 or 90 miles an hour. I said to myself, I would never be in this position ever in my entire life again, where somebody else dictates whether I make money or not.
Yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
And I went home. I wasn't mad. I wasn't pissed off. I felt like you felt when you left. I guess you handed your laptop, liberated. Like, I'm free now. I can get paid based on my efforts.
Yeah.
And my work, and what I do. I don't get paid based on what somebody says I need to get paid, and my race or whatever, because they feel like whatever the case might be. And it was, for me, it was a little hard because from the point of view that I wasn't ready for that day. Like, even though I was ready mentally, I knew I was going to get fired at some point. I had a conversation with my dad, and my dad is like, son, how is it going? This is December prior to me getting laid off. I was like, Dad, I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm in the freaking top of the food chain in this company, and I'm running a $120 million business, and I'm awarding $40 million contracts here and there. I was a big shot. But he's like, but what? I said, I don't know if I'm going to, like, be doing that for the rest of my life. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, something tells me that I'm not going to be there for too long. I'm way too high up now to where I custom, I'm a high salary guy. And I've laid off so many people now that I know that's just a matter of time. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen next week or if it's going to happen in 20 years, but it's going to happen. And he's like, really? Yeah, I said, that's corporate. It's a numbers game now. They don't care about personal people as their feelings or whatever. For them, it's a numbers game. How do we increase our bottom line and this and that? And if you get on the way, you're out. 8 months later, boom, it just happened. So I attracted it without even, thinking that I was doing that. And when I got laid off, I went through that and said I'll never be blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to make real estate work for me one way or another. So that's how I ended up doing it full time. But the feeling of being free was actually pretty freaking good, even though I just got fired, like, okay, shit, I own my time now, right? And it was like, I was talking to another guy a couple of weeks ago. I was trying to figure out what to do with my time. Like, okay,
I remember going through that, yeah.
I would sit down in the computer looking for houses and stuff, and then I'll get tired of that for a couple hours or whatever, and then I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Like, it was weird. Like, the transition was weird because I was like, I got all this free time in my hands now that it took me about, I would say 3 to 6 months to get on a rhythm to where, okay, this is how I set my own schedule now.
Yeah, it took me a little while as well. I remember it was like, all right, well, what do I always default to when I don't know what to do? I'm going to go to the gym, right? That's where it always starts. So I was like, all right, I'm going to make sure, I'm on my own now. I'm going to have to set a good schedule, get your ass up, go to the gym first thing in the morning. I would do that. And then I was in the same position. It would become like, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was pretty much wrapped up. I didn't know what I needed to do.
Yeah.
So what I do, go back to the gym.
Yeah.
Right? Then I'd get back at, 5 or 6 o'clock at night, do some more emails, finish off the evening. Then I'd go to bed early. And then that was kind of my routine for the first little bit. And then as I got busier, now it's like it's nonstop.
See, for me, you're going to the gym was actually doing real estate. So, because I worked all the time, and I traveled all over the world. So, every chance I had, like, some downtime, I'm gonna look for properties, and I'm gonna look for money, because that's what I got real good at the beginning, was finding deals, finding money. That way I can marry the two together, and I go do flips or rentals or whatever. But now I have extra time, and I was like, okay, I don't have a gym mentality. Like, I didn't, I was like, going to the gym, hell no, that's a waste of time. That does not make me any money, is the way I would think about it. Even though it will probably make you a ton of money if you start doing it on a regular basis, not just because you're getting fit and healthier, but you're also networking with other people that are looking after the same interests that you may be onto.
I mean, you don't know how many deals I've closed sitting like this on a bench press before, too.
Right.
Yeah, I get up from a set. Oh, this seller wants to talk right now. Oh, it's hot. I'm gonna go ahead and close it up. Yeah, that was early on. That happened all the time.
So
I try to refrain from the phone now in the gym, but yeah, I used to.
So now
do a
you're
lot of
now
business
you're
in there.
free from the baggage. You start rebuilding your team. You have your VA that's landing deals for you. How do you grow your team out? And now you have the Indeed experience. So you quit your job. You're free. Now you know how to hire, how to qualify people. How do you go about, okay, I'm going to build this new team? Because what you built the second or the third time around, I would say the third time, I define your journey in 3 stages now, because it might be more, but you had the first stage where you drove to Austin and you're learning on YouTube for free, which is best way to start is actually YouTube. I tell everybody, watching podcasts like this, right? And then you come in contact with Sean Terry, then you go to his mastermind, and I will define that as the second, stage. Now you start hanging out with other guys that are doing the same thing. You're seeing the proof of concept. Maybe you don't have it yet. I don't know if you had it yet or not, but you were close to it. And then you go through a partnership that goes away, and then you learn in the corporation that you were working at how to hire, how to do all of these things, and for other people. And finally, you made that transition. So, okay, now it's time for me to go build my own business.
Yeah.
How did that look like?
So, I was fortunate. I had a really, really good friend in Austin at this point. And he was, he was actually the manager of the gym that I was going to. And he was done doing that. And so he was kind of in a transitional period. I said, well, hey, man, I need somebody to help me, with acquisitions going on these appointments. You think you can come help me out? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. So he jumped on with me, commission only. And, we were driving. This is when we were just doing text. This is before the virtual thing. So we were, doing a shit ton of marketing. We'd be going and booking appointments all week. And then he would be driving down to San Antonio every single day, or, coming out to Houston. We would do it to where we'd be in the office Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it was nonstop appointments. We used to come out here to Houston all the time and spend the weekend. So we'd have 5 or 6 appointments here in Houston. We'd come out, do our 5 or 6 appointments, stay at the Galleria, go out and party, go to Joel Osteen's church,
Right.
drive back to Austin with 2 or 3 contracts. And, we were doing that for a little while.
That's pretty good, man.
Yeah. And then we dispo them and get more appointments and just keep going.
Now, so at that time, now you're dispoing over the phone, right? Because, you don't live here, so you're going back to Austin. You got contracts from here. And let's talk about Houston, for instance.
Right.
So you're locking up deals here. You drive to the deal.
Yep.
You get the contract. Then you go party. Then you go to church. And you go back to Austin. How was that disposition look like at the time? Like, did you put a lockbox on it? Did you persuade the seller to show the house to your investors? How was that?
If the seller was cool, like I'd try to get them to show the property. We got a whole system to it now we can talk about later, but a lot of times we would lock up the property, this weekend, and then we'd aim to show it next weekend with more appointments.
And by the time you had the title commitment come back, and you know whether it's a good deal or not, you know if he's got any liens or not, so
we'd be out here hustling all weekend in Houston and then go back to Austin. And, we do the same thing in Dallas and San Antonio. So we were.
But that will limit you, right? If you got, let's say you got a deal in Houston and a deal in Dallas.
Dude, it wasn't scalable, man. It wasn't scalable, right?
It wasn't scalable.
No, absolutely not.
But at the time you're making money, and that's all you care about is like, let me get contracts, let me make money. I don't care if I got to drive out there. Whatever.
Yeah.
I can see myself in what you did, because when Harvey hit Houston, we were already wholesaling here. We were like, what now? Like, we get houses, but they're like every other wholesaler in the country is coming to Houston, number one. Number two, now there's a flood of inventory. Like, you got to pick it up dirt cheap. So the end buyer, it makes sense to them. What do we do? So I said, well, all the investors are coming here. All the wholesalers are coming to town. Hedge funds. I mean, it just became a freaking zoo. why don't we just go to their town? Because they're leaving it behind.
Mm-hmm.
They're not marketing in their town and in our town at the same time, because I don't think we're at the stage to where people think multiple markets. Only a few of them are out there, and that's how. And by the time I was just doing mailers, so that's how I started marketing in Tampa. So everybody from Tampa is trying to get deals in Houston, but now the market is pretty much for me and whoever else stayed behind. And that's literally, I will send letters, and I will time them. I said, okay, and I'll send them standard. I didn't send them first class. First class, they go too fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll send them standard to give it 3 or 4 days to get to Tampa. And then the day before I know the phone is going to ring, I will take a plane ticket, fly to Tampa, and then I will go lock up the deals. And
beautiful.
Yeah. I loved it, you know.
Right.
And we finally got an apartment out there, and eventually we transitioned from that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I was that guy that always thought I have to be in front of the seller because I know I can get it happen. I can make it done, you know, get the contract.
Right.
I can close.
Right.
Once I changed that shift, then things changed for us. So you were driving all over Texas.
Yeah.
And at what point you say, all right, this is a lot of freaking work.
So this is all in like a 6-month period for
Right.
me leaving my job. That was all going in like 6 months, and then, we had a slow month. It was like in December, and then my buddy, he was a former, he was really big up in the oil field. He was a manager, running a few wells out in the oil field, years prior. My acquisition manager, his old boss called him and said, "Hey, we need you back."
Yeah, it's picking up now.
It's picking up. Yeah, it was like $1,000 a day, and I was like, "Dude, just go." So then I was back to myself, and serendipitously, I got a phone call. I think it was like within a few days from my buddy who was actually a colleague of mine at Indeed. He was actually my intern, and he was doing really well at Indeed. I showed him I kind of showed him what I was doing with real estate. I helped him get his first deal, and he calls me. He's like, "Dude, it sucks here in corporate." He's like, "Can I come work for you?" I was like, "Yeah, but I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna have you do. I could probably pay you like,
bare minimum, yeah,
like $1,000 a month to do some cold calling." And he's like, "All right, I'll do it." So he went from this like high-paying corporate salary job and came and worked with me, and absolutely crushed it. His name is Brandon. He's still with me to this day. He actually runs my business.
Wow. So he's your COO, or
he's my COO.
Okay.
Yep. So he runs my business. Absolute savage. If you guys have seen he's usually with me on podcasts and things like that. But he started as a cold caller, worked his way up to leads manager, then acquisition manager. Then we ended up doing really well. We got more acquisition managers. He's overseeing those acquisition managers, and then we're bringing on Dispo, and then next thing you know, it's like we're doing all this virtually. We had people working out of their houses, and this was like year and a half ago. We're like, yeah, I mean, this is crazy having all these people work remote. Just because, in our business,
it's hard to track also what they're doing, how they're doing it, motivating them, answering questions when they need questions
in this
answered.
business, like, you got to be on it, right?
Yeah.
So speed of communication is everything. And, like, having to rely on people on, like, Slack channels or, like, DMing each other or even picking up the phone is not efficient, right? Mm-hmm. So we realized we need to stop this, like, digital nomad lifestyle and, like, actually get in office. And so we end up getting an office, and that's kind of really when we started to blow up.
Good. And how many people did you have working with you in the nomad lifestyle?
I think we had like 7. Like we had like 3 acquisitions, dispositions, and like a executive assistant, things like that. Yeah.
And then you got an office space. Now, were they all working digitally from Austin, or they were all over the place?
All over the place, because I was like, screw it. Well, I'll just find the best talent wherever I can find them, preferably in areas that aren't as expensive as Austin, so I don't have to pay that high labor rate.
Right.
Which was smart back then. But then I realized, like, hey, I need everything under one roof, and so that's what we ended up doing, and made a dramatic impact overnight. We kept all of our remote employees on when we first started, because we weren't just going to fire everybody, but very quickly, they all started to go away.
And you realize also that the productivity from the people that you manage directly is a lot higher than the people that are remotely.
Exactly.
So you
Yeah.
know, even though that doesn't mean they're bad people. That doesn't
Right.
mean, you know, they're just, you're not able to push them as hard as you can when they're here.
Yep. Yep.
So I went through something similar. I think back in early 2019, we're in 2019. We had a bigger building down in Rosenberg, which is far away from here, south of Katy. I live in Katy, and it was only like 4 of us in the building, and everybody else was remotely because I had them in like Florida. I had people all over the place. Venezuela, so I had a lot of VAs, and I was like, there's something missing, and we have a good business, but it's not a great business, and this can be better. How can I make this better? And at the time, we were trying to reduce cost. So, because our overhead was actually big, and we were transitioning from a flipping business into a wholesaling business. So we still have a lot of those flips that we were trying to find, fix and flip or whatever. We had a lot of overhead, and the first thing you do is cut costs. Like, okay, the building, I don't need this building anymore. As soon as the lease is up, boom, I let it go. So we went into that nomad thing for in early 2019, actually January. I kept these people employed, and they were doing okay. So we were doing enough to, I guess, survive and make a little bit of money, but it wasn't anything that I was looking forward to. I was
Right.
like, this is not where I'm going to get when I'm getting stuck. Somehow in August, September, some guys, they start approaching me, and they're like, hey, how can I work with you? And I was like, they're local. So I was like, maybe you help me with this post. I got 20 some houses on the contract by myself with my team, but my team is really costing me almost nothing. I need help in these positions, and that's where I'm struggling. You know, I got all these deals, they're great deals, but I don't have a vast list of buyers, even though I have been building one for quite a while. There was a lot of not calling the buyers, so I had to like dig down throughout the list in order to make it happen. And I needed to multiply myself through other people in order to do that. And this one guy approaches me, and he's like, man, I want to work with you. I know you always got deals in your hands, and I'm good in this point them. And I was like, really? Okay, boom, you're hired. Come on. And he starts selling houses. And then he's like, hey, I got these other guys that they're looking for a home, and you seem to be able to provide that structure. So that's how I went from literally digital nomad operating into, okay, let me get an office space again. But this time I don't want to make a huge commitment on the space because I don't know if these guys are going to work out or not. And because I've seen a lot of my friends that have similar businesses, they have a high turnaround. They hire, the next thing you know, the guys are gone because they didn't work out, or they learn enough to go do it on their own. You know, it's one of the two. And I didn't want to see myself in that same situation with a lease hanging over my neck now, because I know what a lease hanging over my neck was before.
Mm-hmm.
And went and started working out of co-working spaces. So we got this one office out of a co-working space. There's no lease involved. You pay every month. That's it. If you need to leave, then you give a 30-day notice, and you're gone. And man, I think it was 2 of us. From 2, we grew up to 5. From 5 to like 9. So I ended up getting 2 spaces within the same area. But there was so many distractions in that building that I don't think we were being as productive as we should have for the head count. And that's when I said, time to go move now back to a lease again, to where I can have everybody under one roof.
Mm-hmm.
I can be on top of them. We can have morning calls. We can have morning sales meetings, and
Yep.
have our Monday meetings regularly. Nobody showing up late or whatever. There was always an excuse on why people wouldn't be in the meeting or whatever, and then we started like letting them go fast, and that's how we transitioned to it. But this is a business of reinventing yourself, like literally every year. It's either marketing or structure.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of what we need to reinvent later on.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But for that, so you grow a culture, right? Which I've seen you do very well. Because you've grown your team from yourself and your VA, and then your nomads,
Mm-hmm.
your digital nomads, until the head count that you have today. I didn't ask how many you had, but I see you're posting videos and you have people here calling. You got other people,
Right.
doing research or whatever. What do you see, basically, your business transitioning into now that you've implemented all these things?
It's just an inside sales organization, right? That's all it is. Real estate's just the widget.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're in the marketing business. It just happens to be attached to real estate.
Exactly. So I think about it much different than a lot of investors because I came from a large inside sales organization. So you know how you said it expanded your mind when you saw that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of in the same position to, I don't see why we can't grow, two extremely large teams, right? You got two teams within this business. It's acquisitions and dispositions. You got two departments. So, within each department, there's support roles, right? Like transaction coordination and cold callers and junior acquisitions, things like that. But those departments scale out inevitably. As long as you have good systems and good marketing and good people, sky's the limit. So we're in a very fortunate position right now where we are growing, and our biggest bottleneck is just hiring the right people, because it's not an entry-level sales job either.
No.
You got to have sharks, absolute killers, right, to become
Or people that are hungry enough. Right?
Exactly. Because the leads are too expensive in this business to just hire a warm body to come in and start calling these folks.
And I think we've all done it. At least I have.
Right.
I can I come work with you? I was like, sure, here's another buddy I can put on, I don't know, cold tools or whatnot, right?
Yeah.
And next thing you know, the kid is just frustrated. He's not working out.
Yeah.
This is not working out for me, man. I got to go. And then, it wasn't him that failed. It was me that failed because I put him on the wrong seat, or I gave him an opportunity that I should have never, extended because of my own needs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I did get this one guy that actually watches this podcast, and this is the message he sends me on Instagram. Hey, man, I've been watching your podcast for a year now. Can I come door knock for you? And I was like, who the hell wants to door knock?
Right.
Right. I was like, that's a killer right there. I don't care
Yeah.
what anybody says. I need to talk to this guy face to face. Hey, man, can you call? And he's like, sure, yeah, whatever. Okay, come on, man. I really want to see your face and look at what you look like, because nobody's ever approached me for door knocking.
Right.
Right. Man, he's actually turning out to be pretty freaking good.
A hustler.
And he had a job. So he had a good paying job. And when he said, no, I've been in my job for X amount of years and this is what I do. And I was like, and you want to come door knock for us? Yeah. Like, whatever it takes. Bro.
That's our number one core value.
That's it.
We have a core values, banner stand. That's the number one core value, is whatever it takes.
I'm glad to hear that. So, all right. So you're growing your business to a much larger scale now.
Mm-hmm.
What does the process from, and you don't have to get in details, but roughly at a 10,000 foot view from a CEO, what does it look like from marketing to these positions?
It's just a giant sales funnel, right? So you've got marketing up at the top, leads come in, and we're monitoring conversion. So like my job as a CEO is make sure that we have enough leads coming into the business.
Right.
Make sure that conversion is happening. So we expect 1 in 20 to convert into a contract.
Okay.
And so we've got scorecards for that come out every week. I have reports on that every Monday, and I'll look at the week prior, how each rep did, how we did holistically as a team. Then I'm looking at dispositions, right? So dispositions, I'm seeing how much money do we have in assigned right now? How much money do we have in unassigned revenue?
Yeah.
All right, how can we get all that unassigned revenue
To be
assigned, and everything that we have in assigned, how quickly can we get it to close?
Right.
So those are the things that are going through my mind constantly.
Right.
Yeah, out of 60,000, it's some variation of one of those questions going on my mind pretty much constantly.
Right.
And then how can we grow, right? How can we grow as well?
So, what's your, I guess, main marketing channel? Because we all have one.
Yeah.
We all pick that one that we're very good at, and then we might throw a couple other ones on the side, and bring leads that way. But what's yours?
for us, it's PPC. It's just something I was an early adopter of, and I've taken the time to really dive deep into it and learn it.
I'll tell you a story about PPC. So we this is 2015 probably, and Dennis, my business partner, had a friend, Juan, who was real good at like supposedly at PPC, right? So Dennis is like, dude, we gotta go digital. We gotta go on PPC. Let's just try a different avenue other than this. Actually, 2016, not 15. Another avenue other than mailers. I was like, sure, man. What is that gonna cost us? And he's like, I don't know, a couple of grand a month, and we should get some leads. And I'm one of those guys that I'm like, I go all in, And I was like, all right, man, tell this guy he's got 10 grand a month on budget for these PPC campaigns. But I forgot to say I only won Houston. So he left the territory open nationwide. And our phone started ringing with deals in Ocala, Florida. Or the lead form will come in, and I was like, man, this thing is in Charlotte. Or
right.
We did not know what to do with that, which is like, I go back now, I was like, man, maybe I need to go back to that, because at that point we were passing on deals that, and it caught me, like I caught it like 3 weeks later is when because I guess it takes its time for you to start, ranking or whatever. I don't really know much on how it works. He was connecting our Facebook to the Google AdWords campaign, and there was this other thing that he was throwing on SEO, so everything was interconnected one way or another. And by the time I got a hold of where our money was going, I asked him, I said, dude, why am I getting all these deals in like other states and weird cities? And he said, oh, I thought you just wanted to go nationwide. And I was like, no, we had to stay here in Houston. Right. But by that time, I had already spent way too much money. And I stopped it right away. I said, not ever again.
Right.
But now that we're in a different, we're pretty much following what you guys are doing and a lot of other guys are doing with the virtual world. The one question I have is like, okay, so on a PPC campaign, how do you really set different targets? Let's say I want to set, and if is that possible, right? So let's say I just want to do PPC in Houston, in San Antonio, and Nashville. Is that possible to do it in just 3 segmented targets? I don't know, and I'm asking you because pretty much your avenue. You don't have to say how you do it, but is that possible? Yes or no?
Yeah, it's possible.
Okay.
But so the reason, like, if you just set a campaign for Houston or Nashville or Tampa, if you set it up as its own campaign, what's going to happen is there's so many other people that got Houston campaigns or Nashville campaigns or Tampa campaigns that you're bidding against all those people that are bidding with those campaign structures.
Right.
So when you add multiple cities in there, you're going to be basically in front of more people, right? And Google wants to spend your money.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
They're spending fast.
Right. So they're going to try to get you the click no matter where it's from.
Where is that?
Right. So if you've got more cities to add into those campaigns, that's going to reduce your cost per lead. If you're competing over a small pie, it's going to be very expensive.
Right.
Right. If you got a geographically larger population base that you're spreading your budget out in front of, your cost per lead will go down.
Okay. So PPC is your number one. Do you do another one other than PPC, or that's where you're pretty much focusing your guns on?
Yeah, man. I've been around the block with cold calling, SMS, RVM, the whole gamut, and PPC is our bread and butter.
Yeah. So once you find that niche, it's easier to go back to.
Yeah, I mean, we can always turn that stuff on, but it's not really needed because we can continue to scale. We haven't even hit really the tip of the iceberg with what we can do digitally. So, I could scale that up to, the moon right now.
Yeah, you just need more people. Literally.
They can't handle the leads. I mean, we're at record. We're having consistent record days on leads, and it's all up and to the right. And I can't backfill people fast enough to keep up with the market.
How many leads a day are you handling now from PPC?
I think yesterday was like 81.
That's a lot.
PPC leads.
Yeah, but
the day before that,
and a lot of it is retail people, right? Like they want as much as or is all motivated.
The motivation's pretty good because you got to think about the path that they take to get to you, right? They're gonna
Right.
have to type in some sort of search phrase
Yep.
that a motivated seller would type into Google.
Yeah, sell
Then
my
they have
house now, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Then they got to click on your site, which is a cash for houses site. So they've they've qualified themselves pretty good. Now, do we get people that want retail? Yes, everybody does, right? But usually when they're coming at you and they say they want retail, there's still some underlying motivation.
Are you keeping any of this yourself?
No, I'm moving everything right now. I'm running it strictly like an inside sales organization because we're nationwide. I just don't have the time, resources, and I'm very focused. So I don't dabble around in other things like flipping or.
No, but so I'll give you an example. So we pick up a lot of subject twos, right? And a lot of these subject twos, they're not behind. This is just people that got a nice house. They have maybe a $2,000 mortgage, but they need to move for one reason or another one. And they're literally looking for somebody to take over that property. Yeah, you can wholesale that and you can make, I don't know, 10, 15, 20K, depending on the area, how desirable it is and all that. But a lot of those, we take them down ourselves because I really believe on passive income at some point. The rat race becomes a tougher rat race, and a lot of these property, and that's why I ask you if you take them down yourself or some of them.
No, I need to.
Because it's a lot easier than you think.
I need to,
yeah. And just like you're systemizing your business, you can systemize that portion of it too.
Right.
To where you're not even seeing the house. You don't have to fly to, I don't know. I keep falling back into Tennessee. Maybe I need
whatever.
to
Yeah.
Knoxville, Tennessee, or whatever.
Yeah.
Just hire people locally that go and kind of like take pictures and maybe paint it a little bit or whatever, and then next thing you know, your owner financing it out or whatever. So though, you keep your eyes open on that because you're probably getting a lot of those that you're.
Dude, I'm sure I've passed up on so much money. It's ridiculous. It's just. Yeah, I don't want to get squirrel syndrome, even though I'm not. It's just like, hey.
No, you're focused.
Yeah.
I get it. You're trying to really build a massive organization, and it takes a lot of energy. And being focused is pretty much the main one. So keep an eye on them because literally there's people giving houses away.
I got one right now. I mean, I could go do it on it. I'm kind of dumb not to, but I've already got $25K ready to go on it. So
it's kind of hard to pass on that. Plus, your sales team gets paid based on that as well, right? So
yeah.
So if they can make a little bit of money, you're gonna go assign it and boom, get it done.
Right.
So literally, you go from now is solidifying your team, hiring more people, and growing that structure that you have. Mm-hmm. That's what the future pretty much looks like for you.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the next 3 years, I'd like to grow it to at least a $5 million a month organization.
Okay.
Right. So, it's just really a lot more of the same, right? Continuing to hire and retain top talent, refine our processes, increase marketing. As long as we can continue to do that, we're going to have a really good future. Yeah.
What's the I guess what's your reward other than money? Because at some point money is okay, it's good and all that, and you can buy a bunch of nice things and be happy, right? Mm-hmm. And people that believe that money doesn't buy happiness, bullshit.
They don't know where to shop.
They don't know where to spend it or shop, right? But what do you enjoy the most about what you do?
Creating, right? The path to happiness, and I think for just the basic human element is fulfillment, right? Creation and fulfillment. So, just being able to go in and create something and make your dreams become a reality is extremely rewarding, right? So, to be able to, stand up, 5 years from now, have, an 8 or 9 figure business and say, hey, I built that from where I came from, is humbling. And then, the byproduct of what that brings is endless. You can do all the things you wanted to do, provide a really nice life for your family, live first class. Obviously you're well esteemed in your field. So then you do have the money to be able to really do whatever you want to do with money.
Yeah.
But
Plus, when you make money, you bless other people, right?
exactly, you can help a lot of other people. Like, one of my goals is, get a ranch for, like, dogs, like, to be able to bring them on. Get a bunch of kennels, kennel staff, vets, vet techs, things like that. Get a big 2,000-acre ranch and have a ton of dogs well taken care of. So when something like Harvey happens, right?
Right.
Like there's overflow for these dogs to go. So different philanthropic, things like that, helping different countries that are struggling.
So you must like the dog whisperer. I mean, Cesar Millan.
Dude, I love dogs, man. I'm a big dog guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got 2 dogs at home. I got a pit bull, and then I just bought my girl a mini Frenchie for Christmas. So, yeah, we love dogs.
Man, I love that show. And that guy, he communicates with dogs at such level.
Yeah.
He's really a master of neurolinguistics programming for dogs.
Right.
And what he does with his dogs, man, that are in like, distress situations because they're with the wrong, owners or they're on the streets or whatnot, it's really remarkable. So when you mention what your vision is for that ranch, it brings him back right away, because it's kind of like he's helping dogs, become better dogs.
Yeah.
And he's also working on the owners as well, to make sure they're treating their dogs right. So, Nick, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Thank you for coming. How do people get in contact with you?
You can just find me on Instagram at Nick Perry REI. Pretty accessible there. On Facebook, I know I'm kind of capped out on friends, but Instagram's good. Nick Perry REI. You can get me on there.
Perfect. Don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe, man. Go find Nick. He's doing great things in the wholesaling space. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.